Good morning. No, I mean, are we gonna have a good morning, or you guys all showed up and it's like good morning? So, good morning. That's what I like, and that's part of District Six. And we're glad to be here in District Six, and we're happy to be here at Jemez Pueblo, and we want to thank them for their hospitality and for offering for us to come and have this meeting here. And I want to thank them for the breakfast, and everybody get up at any time, and they provided the snack, and thanks to the various tribal members, it looks delicious. And with that, I guess we'll get going. I like the enthusiasm after that second one. That first one, I was getting ready to leave. I want to call to order the New Mexico Department of Transportation Commission meeting for March 21st, 2024 at approximately 8:35. Let the record show that 4 commissioners are present and a quorum has been established. Can I get a roll call?
Chairman Adams,
Here.
Vice Chair Chenoweth,
Here.
Commissioner Cisneros.
Here.
Commissioner Lundstrom,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor.
Here. Let the record show that 5 commissioners are present and a quorum has been established. So with that, we will go, and I want to have an old friend of mine who attended here today, Jerry Nieto, if you'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And the reason I was picking on Jerry is he's from Las Vegas. We grew up together. And he actually worked for DOT up in District 4 for how many years, Jerry?
Almost
7.
7.
And then he went to FHWA. He had come from FHWA, and then he retired from FHWA. So welcome. And we want to welcome each and every one of you here today. And we want to thank you for coming today. And I just want everybody here to know that I think I was here for 42 years, and before I got to this side, to the dark side. But I enjoyed living here. We're a family, and I always like to say that, is that whether you retire, whether you quit, you'll always be part of this family. And the reason that we're so successful is because of our employees. And I like to see employees at these meetings because I want to be totally honest with you. We don't do anything. It's you that go out each and every day and make things happen and do whatever it takes to get done. And when you see the good things on TV or you see them in the communities, it's not us, it's you. And all we're here to do is support you. So on behalf of this commission, we'd like to take this time to tell all of you, thank you for the work you do each and every day. And having been in the field when I was here, there was times that just a simple thank you went a long way. You know, we can't control money, we can't control other things. We can champion for more money and other things. And I think that since we've been here and with the secretary, we have done better than what we had before. We have a governor that really believes in you, and we have a legislature that supports us. So with that being said, thank you for being here. And I always like to see employees here, and I've worked side by side with a lot of them here. I can see some of them, but it's good to do that. With that being said, you've had a chance to review the agenda. Is there any additions, deletions, or any comments? If not, what is the pleasure of this commission?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
We have a motion from Commissioner Chenoweth of the approval of the agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
We have a second by Commissioner Lundstrom. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. You had a chance to review the minutes of the regular meeting of January 11th, 2024. Is there any questions, comments, additions, deletions? If not, what is the pleasure of this commission? We have a motion for approval from Commissioner Taylor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Cisneros. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. And now we're gonna go to introductions. So with that, I'll turn it over to the secretary. Do we have any elected officials in here? I can appoint a couple of people in here and then. With that, and do we have anybody on the sign up? So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna turn it over to the secretary for introductions of his staff, our staff, his staff, and us, and then as we do in every meeting, and that's the reason we come, we go around the state of New Mexico. I come from Las Vegas, New Mexico. It's rural, so I know what it is to be in rural areas. And so it's important that people get a chance to come on here and say, hey, this isn't working, or this is working, or how can we do things different? And if we don't give people a voice, then we're not doing what we need to do. So with that, you can come up on public comment. You don't have to have signed up.
Right.
Secretary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I want to start off by, I'll start off with Lisa. Lisa, thank you and your team for the hospitality, for gift bags, and for organizing this meeting. This is a good place. It's good to be back. Myself and Rick were here just a couple weeks ago. I can't remember. Sherry's back there a few weeks ago in this same room for a tribal council meeting, and it's always beautiful, especially because I drive from Espanola through the Valles Caldero to get here, and makes me feel like I'm a tourist, even though I've been there so many times. So I'll start with, of course, Lisa Vega, District Engineer for District 6. Paul Brasher is District Engineer, District 5, also manning the shop at District 3. Adam Romero in District 4. Luis Mata is here for District 2 for Francisco. And of course, Erin Chavarria in District 1. Next to him is Alicia Ortiz, and she's our acting modal director. I see him. There's John. There's John Romero, Director of Highway Ops, and our Deputy Secretary, Jessica Cooper, General Counsel, Steve Hamilton, and of course, Cindy Vigu from FHWA. And if I can, Mr. Chairman, just a couple of partners we have with us. Jim Garcia is Director for ACNM. Good to see you here. And of course, Dan Lewis is a few months into his role, Director of APA&M. And as you all know, their organizations bring, simplicity to the partnerships we have with contractors in the state of New Mexico.
Okay, is that, and then what we're gonna do later, and I know people don't like this because I didn't, we're gonna have everybody introduce themselves from the district or any employee that's here, because it's important that we recognize you, and recognition should be for everybody. And let me tell you something, that sometimes people come to these meetings, and we've made it a point to try to get as many people as we can here, because of the fact that everybody should know who's working on your behalf, what we do here, what happens here. More importantly, the way we look at it, you're all a piece of the puzzle, and it's a big puzzle. So then you ask, well, okay, am I an important part of this puzzle, or am I not an important part of this puzzle? Well, every one of you is as important as the next piece, because if you don't have all the pieces, you can't complete the puzzle. So we all do different things, but at the end of the day, without one or the other, we're not gonna succeed. So with that, I'm gonna start with the commissioners. And I just wanna give a shout out to, this is Commissioner Lundstrom's district, and he's a fighter for this district, and he's always looking out how he can get money, and I always have to watch out to make sure he's not stealing my money from my district. So he does a good job, and I'll let him introduce, and we'll come this way.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not gonna use the microphone here. I'm a baseball coach, and I'm a little hoarse today, but that's okay. We almost won yesterday, so we got a new group, but we're working real hard. I'm Charles Lundstrom. I'm the District 6 Commissioner. It's good to see a lot of our employees, a lot of everybody that works with us and takes care of our traveling public. My district is Catherine, McKinley, and Cibola counties. This is a great place. I've been up here a couple times, but we wanted to move the meeting here so we could get it, like the chairman says, to get everybody a chance to come and see us. Thank you for coming, and I'm glad you're here, and let's have a great meeting today. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Chandel Cisneros, I'm the District 1 Commissioner.
Well, go ahead and introduce your boyfriend. He's around here somewhere.
Oh, I don't.
Okay. I didn't know that.
He's my fiance.
Or your fiance.
I'm not sure if he might have taken off because there's lots of
He
chairs,
went
you don't want to
shopping.
take
Well,
up the space.
hey, he's not off the hook yet, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Hilma Chinowith. I am the District 3 Commissioner. That's the Albuquerque area, the greater Albuquerque metropolitan area. I used to bring my children up to Hummingbird Music Camp every summer, and there were 4 of them. So I was up here every weekend for weeks at a time, and I haven't done that in a while, so I was really happy to have the opportunity to come up to this beautiful area of New Mexico, and I'm so happy to see all of you here today. Thank you for being here.
And I'm Walter Adams, and I come out of District 4 before I became a commissioner. I was 42 years as an employee. I started off in a survey crew. From there I went into inspection. I worked at the materials testing lab. From there I went into maintenance, became an area maintenance supervisor. From there I went to Santa Fe and became a employee support guy. And so I put in 42 years, and I can tell you that I know how it is to be working here. I loved it, and it's like family, but the pay could be better. And so I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I'm not that type of person. And I know you're not here because of the money, so that's why we appreciate you even more. You're here because you love to work here. And I ended up putting in 42 years, and about the first 10 years, every year I was gonna leave. Not because I didn't like working here, because the pay wasn't good, but we're doing everything we can to help with that, and it's gotten, believe me, way better. When I started back in 1977, we were the highway department. It wasn't Department of Transportation. And we were the guys in the orange trucks. And we were the guys there was 1 shovel and 7 guys. And it wasn't a good feeling. We've changed the whole view of what we do at DOT, and I'm happy because we were never the guys with 1 shovel. And so thank you again for what you do. And now we're the Department of Transportation, and we do great things, and we always have. So with that, I'll pass it down to Commissioner Taylor.
Good morning, I'm Tom Taylor. I'm from the hamlet of Farms, better known as Farmington, in District 5. It's a different part of the state. I generally refer to the state that I'm from as UNIMCO, because all of our economic and relationships really are in 3 other states. There in the 4 corners. It's a 250,000 people, and all of us are kind of stepchildren to the states that we're members of, because we're all hundreds of miles from the population centers and everything else. And it's always interesting, you know, when you leave Farmington, you go 100 miles before you get to Cuba. And I've taken people from back east on that trip before, and their first comment is, what do you do if you run out of gas? And I said, well, you just don't. Out here in this area. Anyway, it's a great bunch of people that take care of our roads. It's a lot of work. I always tell people, you know, in my district, District 5, if I built a single lane highway, it would go from Farmington, New Mexico to about 300 miles the other side of Berlin, Germany. And we got, 320 people to take care of that. So it's an amazing job that they do there, and I want to thank them for that.
Thank you. And the only question I've always had, I'll ask it. It doesn't really matter, but I remember when I was working here, and I used to come through all these areas a lot. And I always wondered, we're in District 6 right now. Then you go down to Cuba and you go back into District 5, correct? Mm-hmm. And then you go a little bit further down into you get into Farmington, Bloomfield, and you're still in District 5. And then you head back to District 6, when you go around back to Shiprock still, there's still 5, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did Cuba end up? I guess that's my question. Nobody, well,
Just lucky, I guess.
there you go. Well, that's a good answer. So
I
with
guess-
that, I gave my welcoming remarks. Again, thank you, Jemez Pueblo, for hosting us and for the refreshments today. Is there anybody that'd like to come up on public comment?
Well, Mr. Chair, I have one more question. How's 126? I'm thinking about going home that way.
Who can answer that
Lisa?
one?
126.
Yeah, yeah. How's the road?
I probably wouldn't travel it right now.
Hey,
It is
Honest.
it's an incredible drive that you go up north of here just before you get to Novaya Grande, and you take off and you go through a little bit of paved road, a little bit of graveled road, a little bit of dirt, mud, and various kinds of things, and you end up coming into Cuba, but it's an incredibly beautiful drive. Just takes a while.
Somebody following you. Okay, last call for public comment. You've heard that before. It's 2 hours for all your fees. Okay, we'll move on to District 6. Feel free to get up and get some refreshments and in the back. Morning, welcome.
Oh, I'm sorry, I guess I turned that off. I just wanted to welcome everybody to District 6, and we can go ahead and listen to the presentation, and if there's any questions, I'll be happy to stand for questions after it's done. Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Adams and members of Commission. My name's Lisa Vega. I'm the District 6 engineer. Welcome to District 6 and the beautiful Jemez Valley. I'm happy to be hosting this meeting at the Pueblo of Jemez and like to thank them for their hospitality. Our Transportation Commissioner is Charles Lundstrom, and I'd like to give him the opportunity to say a few words.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our District 6 meeting up here in Jemez. I'm Charles Lundstrom. I'm the District 6 Commissioner, working with Lisa and all the folks here at District 6. Spring's coming in New Mexico, and I'm glad. I think we had a good winter. I think the staff did a real good job clearing roads. When they clear the roads, people tell me about it. When they don't, they tell me about it. But I think everybody did a good job here. One thing I wanted to point out today is about our employees, on how involved in the community they are. Every one of these guys is either coaching or helping the schools around here do the right thing. I think a lot of student athletes look up to our staff, and I get those comments all the time. Again, welcome to our meeting here. We're glad you made it up here, and we look forward to having a great meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Here's a map of District 6, which encompasses Cibola, McKinley, Catron, and portions of San Juan, Rio Arriba, Sandoval, Valencia, and Socorro counties, and covers about 20,640 square miles. We maintain about 3,467 lane miles. We serve 22 counties, including 7 tribal governments. So our operating budget is about $21 million. Our ongoing construction contracts right now is about $141 million. Contract maintenance about $8.4 million. Field supplies at $5.8 million. Striping and signing at $1.3 million. Rest area and maintenance improvements about $372,000. IT budget at $251,000. Our employee breakdown is support staff at 41, maintenance at 143, construction 50, engineering support 16, for a total of 250 positions. I would like now to introduce my staff. Kirk Weber is our ADE for construction. He is responsible for managing our highway construction program. Arif Kazmi is our ADE for engineering support. He is responsible for our designs, studies, and planning. Mike Vigil is our ADE for maintenance. He is responsible for our maintenance program. Angela Baca is our business manager, who has an important job of keeping all of the sections in line with budget and equipment. Jenny Gallegos is my administrative assistant. Diane Delane Barros is our PIO. She is responsible for communicating with the public, news outlets, and she does a great job of highlighting our district with our newsletter, In the Fast Lane. In our business management section, we have IT, HR, and risk management, equipment and admin that work under Angela. We have Jeff Coates and Norman Hassel who work in IT. Valerie Ramirez is our HR supervisor. Scott Metzger is our equipment manager. Sharon Chavez is our district administrator, and Anna Hamilton is our risk management supervisor. Now I'd like to give an update on our House Bill Section 9 projects. For 2019, 3 of the 5 projects have been completed. For the Allison Corridor preliminary engineering, the design is still at 90%. Right now, we are coordinating with the City of Gallup on their utility relocations and other challenges this project has had. We are hoping to be able to move forward with this design soon. For the New Mexico 4 bypass design, we are also at 90%. We would like to coordinate with the Pueblo on another supplemental report completed after the value engineering was done. All of the projects for 2020 were completed. For 2021, the first project is for the Allison Corridor Part A. However, we do not have all of the construction funding needed for this project. We are about $33.4 million short. The second project is a local lead project that should be completed this spring. The third project is complete, and the last project was a study for New Mexico 264 and the first construction project from the study. That project is from milepost 10 to 14, and when advertised came in a little over $6 million over the programmed amount. However, we were still able to award that project. For the laws of 2022, all of these projects have been completed. And for the laws of 2023, we've made a pretty good dent in getting these completed. We have 2 projects on US 180 and US 60 that will be completed this spring once the weather warms up. And the last project is a local lead project where the agreement with the City of Grants is in process and will be completed soon. Now for our construction section. We have James Martinez and Delphine Mexicano, who are project managers that work in Gallup. We have Tommy Chavez, who's a district lab supervisor. Rachel Romero is our audit section supervisor. Robin Eves is our management analyst. Stephanie Pata is our PM2. And David Gonzalez and Robert Darby are PMs that work in Milan. This section takes care of multi-million-dollar projects to ensure quality materials and workmanship. They work together to ensure every project is successful from the beginning to the finalization of the paperwork. Now let's take a look at some of the projects that our construction section is currently working on. So these are our ongoing construction projects. We have a project on I-40 at the Coolidge Interchange, New Mexico 566, which is a bridge replacement project. We have another bridge replacement project on 566 at mileposts 6 to 7. We have a slope stabilization project on New Mexico 126, a sidewalk and curb and gutter project on New Mexico 547, a roadway reconstruction project on New Mexico 264. Now we can move into our completed construction projects, which totals up to $92 million. All of these projects are open to the traveling public and are just being finalized by the construction staff. Moving on to maintenance, this is our largest section. These are the individuals that fight snow in the winter, fill potholes and blade patch, mow, and do all of the operations needed to keep our roads maintained. Most of the patrols employ personnel who actually live in the communities they serve, and they do their very best every day. We have Eugene Hosteen, who is our area maintenance superintendent for the special crews. Peter Salazar is the AMS of the northern patrols. Jeremy Madrid is the AMS of the southern patrols. We have Colleen Marquez, who's our office clerk, and Cynthia Sanchez, who's a management analyst. Now, moving on to our fiscal year 2023 contract maintenance projects. These are our projects that we did last fiscal year. As you can see, we had a lot of projects that totaled up to approximately $16.8 million. We had a lot of pavement issues on I-40 and US 550 as well as New Mexico 264, which required immediate attention. So we were very fortunate to be provided some additional funds which enabled the district to complete these projects. So this is another indication that there is a lot more need than what our available budget can handle. Now moving on to this year's contract maintenance program, and these projects total about $11 million. So we have projects ranging from US 550 wildlife detection, New Mexico 609, which will be a mill and inlay, I-40 taking care of some fatigued locations, US 60 a mill and inlay, district-wide crushing of millings for chips, and New Mexico 264 which got a mill and inlay. All of the maintenance crews work very hard, and I wanted to take some time to highlight some of their accomplishments. So as you can see here, blade patching, we had about 2,900 cubic yards, pothole patching about 2,500 cubic yards, chip sealing, we had 78.6 lane miles, asphalt paving, 28 lane miles, litter pickup at 3,497 labor hours, construction contract litter pickup at 4,848 labor hours. And then for our snow removal activities, we had 501,000 pass miles, and we utilized about 2,500 cubic yards of cinders and about 10,000 cubic yards of chemical de-icer with additive. Here is our district engineering support section that work under a reef. This section ensures that we continue to plan for the future. They balance the budget. They also have to balance that with our needs within the district, which can be a very difficult job. They also take care of our local government projects, provide technical support to them when needed, and that also included in that section is our traffic section, who review permits, traffic studies, and provide support to our crews when necessary. We have Jason Grover, who is our traffic engineer. June Wilson is the office clerk. Mike Neely is the local government supervisor, and our technical support engineer right now is currently vacant. Now moving on to our district STIP. Fiscally constrained years, fiscal year 2024 to 2027. These are the projects that are currently programmed. I won't cover all of these projects, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them at the end of the presentation. And these are our district STIP planning years for fiscal year 2027 to fiscal year 2029. I won't go over all of these projects as well, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. This table shows the district's unfunded projects prioritized using the department's TAMP evaluation process. I included our top 16 projects here, and you can see that most of these projects are on I-40. There are a few on New Mexico 264, as well as including Allison Road and the New Mexico 4 bypass, as well as the Swanee Bridge replacement project. These are the projects that are currently under design. It's our intent to build a healthy SHOUT program so that as funding becomes available, we have projects ready to go. On the bottom of this page, we have our current and upcoming studies. We got to keep planning for the future. It is rewarding to be able to partner with our local communities and see their projects come to fruition. In this part of the presentation, we will go over the TPF and local government road fund projects. These are the projects for the Transportation Project Fund for fiscal year 2022. Those projects that are bolded have been completed. And these are the TPF projects for fiscal year 2023. Again, the bolded projects have been completed. Here are the projects for the Local Government Road Fund for fiscal year 2022. And the Local Government Road Fund projects for 2023. And as always, we are happy to partner with our local communities and tribal governments to be able to accomplish these projects every year. And we look forward to future projects and future partnerships. I want to say how proud I am of the district's accomplishments this year. I appreciate every employee's dedication and all of their efforts to make each section successful. Every individual makes a difference and is needed for the team to be successful. These pictures are just a snippet of the great things we have accomplished over the last year. This year's Training for Equipment Excellence was a great success and a lot of fun. This was a friendly competition amongst the crews and every participant gave it their all. These are the district's first place winners of each event. Charlie Martin, Motor Grader, Sheridan Saunders, Backhoe, Andrew Chavez, Loader, Sean Garcia, Transport, Leon Stewart, Mower, Julian Billy, Dump Truck, and Ray Nanto, Skid Steer. These are the second place winners in each of the events: Michael Docido, mower; Marty Skeet, skid steer; Chad Mulligan, mower; Alvis Yazzie, transport; Neil Thornton, motor grader; James Casaus, loader; and Guerrero Reyes, dump truck. And the third place winners of each event, we had Joseph Pacheco for the mower, Damian Wally for the backhoe, Gabriel Begay, transport; Robert Rodriguez for the skid steer; Randy Trujillo for the loader; Cole Reynolds for the dump truck; and Jareen Johnson for the motor grader. We're so proud of every winner, and just as a side note, the first place winners received the buckle, the second place winners received a very customized hat, which was great, and the third place winners received a customized tumbler. And then we had 2 individuals that placed at the statewide competition. Gabriel Begay placed first place in the transport, and Marty Skeet placed first place for the skid steer. The district's best patrol for 2023 was the Mesita Patrol. This crew works together to maintain their patrol, equipment, and roadways. Mesita Patrol is along I-40 just west of Albuquerque, where the heavy traffic volumes can make their job difficult. Driving through this patrol, you can see the pride this crew takes in their work. Although this crew does face challenges with I-40, this doesn't stop them from taking care of business. Great job, Mesita.
As you can see behind me, they love what they do. They come out every day to work, and I just don't have any problems with them. Once I assign them a task, they go and get the job done without any complaints. You know, they put in their 8 hours. And I am so grateful that I have a crew that loves their job. I couldn't ask for anything else.
Good morning, New Mexico Department of Transportation.
Renee is the first person you interact with when you enter the district office. She always has a smile and has such an upbeat attitude that is contagious. You can't help but smile when you're around her. She serves on multiple committees and is always willing to help, especially when the employees are concerned. She's always respectful and professional in her capacity as a receptionist. Her dedication to her job is exemplary, and it is our privilege to have her as our District 6 Employee of the Year.
On the face of DOT, I'm the first person that they come in contact with when they come into the District 6 building. And that's a huge responsibility. I want them to know that we're capable, we're able, we know what we're doing. I try to project a positive professional attitude at all times, and I think I'm able to do that. I mean, I find if I just, try to relate to them and what they're feeling, and just reassure them that we're doing everything that we can to get them moving as quickly as possible and as safely as possible, it seems to work.
All right.
Our District Supervisor of the Year is Eugene Hosteen, our Area Maintenance Superintendent of the District Crews and the Grants and Mesita Patrols. Eugene is a very knowledgeable and dedicated employee. There's no job, big or small, that he will not tackle and overcome. He's not afraid of telling you how it is, and I really appreciate that about him. He provides guidance and support to all the crews and other AMSs, and we are very lucky to have Eugene on our District 16.
I do the work and I found out how to fix things and all this stuff and get the fundings I need and all this stuff, somebody called me, I'm the squeaky wheels around here, so they gotta listen to me, I'm the one that they go to. This place never stops. I got these special crews here. I got the heavy maintenance, the bridge crew, and the chip seal. And I got 2 patrols, Mesita and Grants. I think those guys are the ones that make me look good. Out there, I'm working with all these patrols and all that, so there's a lot of things happening out there. And whoever needs help, they come to us. We go out and help assist different patrols and all that, and even other districts.
Our Crew of the Year is the audit section who provides support to the construction section. This crew works diligently to ensure that our construction crews follow all guidelines, policies, and specifications to ensure federal participation. If you recall, the district had about $92 million of projects that are being finalized. These ladies assist the project offices with getting this done within the time frames we're given. They do this while being short-staffed, but always remaining positive. I'm so thankful to have such a great team in District 6.
We outreach to the construction side of it. We do work with maintenance sometimes, you know, the local government department. So, you know, it may be little, you know, helping other departments, you know, in little areas, but it's mostly construction, but we do work with everybody. Yeah.
And how much do you guys appreciate working with each other?
Oh, I appreciate working with Sandra and Ebony so much. They are, without them, I wouldn't be anything. You know what I mean? Without them, I wouldn't have a job. So, you know, and they're really, really good. I mean, they help me out so much. They support me just as well as I think I support them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they are such a great help because I don't know what I'd do without both of them.
We've had some people retire this past year, and I just wanted to acknowledge them. While we will miss these employees who have retired, we wish them nothing but happiness in this next chapter of their lives. Thank you for your years of dedicated service. Your hard work and commitment have been invaluable, and you will be greatly missed. So I've been in this district for 27 of the 28 years that I've been with the department. And as an EIT that many years ago, I really didn't think that I would be sitting here giving this presentation to you all right now. It has been a great career, and I've met a lot of great people. So this is going to be the last time that I give a presentation at a commission meeting because I do intend to retire at the end of this year. But it has been a great career, and I really appreciate all of the support and all of the great people that I've worked with. Thank you. The district staff introduce themselves, so we could go ahead and start here.
Hi, everybody. My name is Renee Garcia. I'm the receptionist, info clerk at District 6 at the bank complex.
I had the pleasure of meeting her my wife and I were headed to, I don't remember where, we stopped to use the facilities there in the district. She was more than graceful and welcoming and meeting, and so, I could see, why she was
Thank you.
Hi, I'm David Garcia. I'm from District 6 Traffic Section.
Good morning. I'm Stephanie Pata. I am the PM2 in construction for District 6.
Good morning. I'm Rachel Romero. I'm the audit supervisor for District 6.
Good morning. I'm Ebony Chavez, and I'm the District 6 audit intern.
Good morning, Jenny Gallegos. I am the DE's administrative assistant.
Good morning. Angela Baca. I'm the business manager for District 6.
Good morning. I'm Donna Slim, purchasing agent.
Hello. I'm Samantha Leak with accounting section at District 6.
Hi, I'm Marissa Montoya, and I do payroll at District 6.
Good morning. Kirk Weber, assistant district engineer and construction.
Good morning, everybody here. Thank you very much, commissioners. My name is Arif Kazmi. I'm the assistant district engineer for project development, project engineering, and also manage, as Lisa said, the local, tribal, public agency projects. Thank you.
All right, we'll start in the back.
Good morning, Eugene. I'll stay in the main mess. Mr. Cruz.
And I've known Eugene forever, never known Eugene, we worked on some projects together.
Morning. I'm Valerie Nyapel. I'm the Jemez supervisor.
Good morning, Hector Largo from Long Project Office 2, engineering intern.
Good morning, I'm Alfonso Lopez, engineering technician supervisor 2 out of the Milan Project Office 1.
Good morning, my name is Joel Jemez, Long Project Office 1, Tech 2.
Sean Clay from Project Office 2, Tech 3.
Good morning, I'm David Gonzalez, project manager for Milan Project Office 1.
Morning, Jeffrey Gacco, Lawn Project 1, Engineering Technician 3.
I'm Celestino Trujillo, Engineer Tech 2 from Lawn Project Office 1.
Good morning, Tommy Jemez with the District 6 Lab Supervisor.
Good morning, Nathan Gonzalez, I'm a Tech 2 at the District 6 Lab.
Good morning, Ty McGee, I'm the Office Manager for David Gonzalez from the Lawn Project Office 1.
Good morning, Pat Crutchfield, Lawn Project Office 4, Engineering 2.
Good morning, my name is Joel Lopez, from the Lawn Project Office 1, Engineering Tech 1.
Good morning, I'm Robert Garcia, I'm the Project Manager for Milan Project Office 2.
Good morning, Francisco Figueroa, I'm Engineering Technician 2 from Lawn Project Office 2. Good morning, my name is Ramon Samo, Project Office 2, Engineering Tech 2, and also Engineering Office 1.
Good morning, Andrew Chavez, Mosquito Patrol, Advanced.
Dr. Mingus, Mosquito Patrol, Assistant Supervisor.
Good morning, James Cicero from the City Patrol.
Morning, everyone. My name is Thomas Bile, Mosquito Patrol Supervisor.
Morning, Richard Chavez from Mosquito Patrol.
Good morning, guys. Cameron Cornell, I'm part of the Mosquito Patrol.
Good morning, Dominic Campos, Top of the Road Patrol Supervisor.
Miguel Apodaca, Top of the World Assistant.
Hello, Trujillo, here in the Jemez, as Super Assistant.
Morning, I'm Troy Witt from the STEM Studio Patrol Supervisor.
Good morning, I'm Lane Escobar, I'm the Tech Supervisor for the Lawn Project Office 2.
Good morning, I'm Peter Salazar, AMS for the Northern Patrol.
Good morning, I am Lucero, Cuba Patrol.
Good morning, James McKee, General Project Office 2, Engineering Technician 2. Good morning, Nicholas Peterman, Project Office 2, Engineering Technician 3. Good morning, Jay Sanchez, Gallup Project Office 2, Engineering Technician 2. Good morning, my name is Joel Paul, Gallup Project Office 2, Engineering Technician 3.
Good morning, Kyle DeArmond, Gallup Project Office 2, Engineering Tech 1.
Morning, Joaquin Mascaro, Tech Supervisor for Gallup Project Office 2. Good morning, Gabrielle Lee, Gallup Project Office 2, Engineering 1.
Good morning, Steve Martinez, Gallup Patrol Supervisor.
Is that everybody? Oh.
Good morning, Mike Hill, I'm the Assistant District Engineer for Maintenance T6.
I would also like to give a shout out and Larry Maynard, who was part of the District 6 family. I know he was over there trying to hide, but it didn't work. He was a district engineer here for
20 years.
20 years. So welcome, Larry.
Yeah, so if it is okay, we'd like to take some pictures in recognition of our employee of the year, crew of the year, and the best patrol.
Hey, we love that. You want to do it right now?
It's at your discretion.
Let's do this. Let's continue, and then we'll take, when we get a part, we'll take a break. We'll do it then.
That sounds good. Yes.
Okay. So stick around, don't leave. Or we'll call you back here.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. And we're going to miss you. And we'll talk more about it. Let's not talk about it yet. It's, we still have another 9 months of good stuff. So thank you, Lisa, and thanks for the job you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. With that, we're going to go on and into the staff briefings. We'll start off with our secretary, Mr. Serna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to. That's better. Can you guys hear me okay? Just to provide you all with a summary of the 2024 legislative session. I know that over the course of the 30-day session, I sent you all maybe a handful of updates that kind of kept you up to date on where we were, understanding, of course, that everything changes, minute by minute. And if you go to the first slide, you can kind of get a sense of, how quickly things happen. And I wanted to share this just to kind of give you a sense of, you know, the work that the DOT team kind of put into making sure that, you know, the session was really fruitful for us. And so I started back in the interim. You know, over the course of the interim, the department presents at every single Transportation Infrastructure Revenue Subcommittee, and they start meeting every June, you know, so every month between then and December, we report out. They move from one district to the other, much like the commission does, and at each point, the district engineers provide an opportunity of, you know, their progress in spending down legislative appropriations and of course, identifying their priorities for the upcoming session. And, you know, I just want to let Lisa know, you know, one of the things that she talked about in her report that we don't see a lot of are those TAMP score sheets for projects, which is really about how the districts identify their priorities based on, you know, road conditions, pavement conditions. And then in December, of course, we have kind of one last opportunity to roll up our legislative summary. We did that on December 11th, and then you see shortly after those hearings end in January, the first week of January, both the executive and the LFC issue their budget recommendations for the upcoming session. When the session started, once the session starts, DOT is unique in how it develops its budget relative to other agencies, and so we move into what's called a consensus process with analysts at the Department of Finance Administration, Legislative Finance Committee, and I want to thank Mallory Manzanares, who kind of, you know, leads that discussion because she just has the most experience with how it works, and she, of course, understands how revenue projections combined with our anticipated carryover kind of complete the budget process, right, every single year on top of our federal and state distributions. And so that process began the first week of the session, and we had a couple of meetings to kind of hammer that out. We did start this legislative session in a difficult position. I think I shared with you in a number of emails. The governor was very generous in her recommendation for DOT with over $200 million in non-recurring funds for DOT. On the other hand, the Legislative Finance Committee, their recommendation was $40 million, which is less than what it was last year. But on top of the $40 million recommendation, they were earmarking $50 million of our carryover budget for specific projects. And so we did start this session with what we described to be kind of a non-recurring deficit for DOT, which was unfortunate. We did early on budget discussions or budget presentation in Senate Finance Committee, and there was a lot of discussion about DOT bonding, upwards of $1 billion to get projects done. And, you know, we of course very quickly huddled with some of our bond advisor teams. You'll hear from one of them later on, but to explore what that would do to DOT in terms of debt service. Shortly after that, we started moving our budget through the House side, and then of course we did some follow-up in Senate Finance Committee about bonding and whether or not that was really what you know, the strategy that DOT wanted to pursue. As you all may be aware, when DOT bonds or sells bonds, that's always done at the discretion of this commission, and so really the legislature's role in that process is authorizing two things. One is the limit of those bonds that can be sold and any parameters around which those bonds can be used. And so we started moving quickly to determine whether or not bonding was the strategy for increasing, you know, our budget moving through the session, and ultimately it was determined that we would try and build our non-recurring budget between severance tax bonds and non-recurring general fund. At the end of the day, we were able to essentially pull through $320 million in severance tax bonds, or what's called sponge bonds. And so that of course funded 9 specific projects at $320 million, funded 9 specific projects that cost an estimated $547 million, and I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. And then we received another $70 million, you know, for some projects, $120 million for maintenance. And so as you can kind of see through the timeline, you know, it just doesn't stop. It was essentially, you know, negotiating with a number of lawmakers over the course of the last week before we saw, you know, our budget materialize in the way that I'll share later. You know, and I want to thank the team, obviously, in the governor's office, you know, Dan Schlegel, Diego Arencon, Rebecca Ruz, who kind of made sure that, you know, we had that weight of the executive leaning in with us to kind of make things happen. So if you go to the next slide, this is kind of a side-by-side of how things shook out, going back to the interim, the DFA rec or the executive rec and the LFC rec. So you'll see fundamentally we were really hoping to pull $300 million out of the session to fund 6 district priorities, and that was important to us. And then we were hopeful to top that with about $150 million of recurring revenue from motor excise tax distributions, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And so the goal for maintenance and construction was in the area of $450 million, and that was kind of our target. And so with just non-recurring funds, the executive rec or the governor's recommendation got us really 2/3 of the way there with $200 million in that recommendation. And then you'll see there on the right-hand side that the LFC rec was much lower, not just from the executive rec, but lower than even last year's recommendation, which was $70 million, and that dropped to 40. And then if you kind of go down the table there, you'll see that red box where on top of you know, the small recommendation of $40 million, there was an earmark of $50 million. And so, you know, just at a glance, we talked about being in a negative position with our non-recurring funds when you take 50 from 40. So that was the side-by-side. We had really kind of honed in on this balance between one-time non-recurring funds and recurring revenue from motor excise tax. On the next slide, Senate Bill 184, which was sponsored by Senator Bobby Gonzalez, was our effort to receive increased motor excise tax distributions. And so if you see there on the green table to the far right, the diff column was that $146 million increase to the state road fund, another $17 million increase to TPF. And it essentially would have transferred over the remaining $163 million of distributions that go to the general fund. And so this bill got heard in one committee, made its way through, and then it didn't get heard in Senate Finance, the second committee that it was assigned to. So I don't know, I think it's going to be maybe 8th time a charm. Next year we'll try and do this. It's been done, it's been proposed a number of times, but we're going to really make a push every year until this gets done, because we all say the same thing when we come into a surge of resources, and that is it won't last forever. And this is a measure that will slowly help us build recurring revenues for DOT. On the next slide, one big priority for us, and I'll extend the word us to all executive agencies who received ARPA over the last 4 years. We received $142.5 million among the agencies that received the highest allocations for ARPA funds. We assigned those resources to 4 different projects, and you see them there. The concern was our ability to finish spending down that $142.5 million by FY25. Some of these projects, of course, are further than others. For example, Pinon Hills Extension, we're spending down, and we're getting that project underway. So what we wanted to do was kind of lock arms with the executive to get the life of this funding extended through FY26, which we were successful in doing. And so our goal here will be to have all of these projects under contract before December of this year, and then essentially to get all of this money spent in by the end of FY26. Now, the numbers that you see here for those projects is not the total cost of those projects. It's really the total ARPA allocation to those projects. And so although some of these projects are far more costly than that amount, we'll essentially prioritize expenditures to ARPA first. On the next slide, we did carry a couple of agency bills for this session. The first was essentially to increase, pull it up here, I'm going a little blind, to increase the threshold for reporting crashes, vehicle crashes, to the Traffic Safety Bureau. And that bill made its way through committee, but it ran out of time and didn't get heard on the Senate floor, on the House floor. And so it's really in the process of moving that bill through the session. We've kind of identified some other measures that we need to really do to kind of satisfy to the best of our ability our statutory obligation here, and so we might just work on that over this year and eliminate the need for this change altogether. We also introduced some statutory changes for the assumption of the motor carrier or the Transportation Regulation Division from PRC, and this was to make some changes in statute that better aligned with this division being under NMDOT's oversight. And it was carried by Senator Nabil, one of the sponsors of Senate Bill 160, and that bill didn't make it out of House Transportation. There was concerns really with concerns, and I'd say concern/confusion about what we were really trying to do with this legislation, which was, our regulation and oversight of items under statute within the Motor Carrier Act. So we can recraft that and get that done in the future if we still think it's necessary. But we don't. We know that it won't impact our ability to bring over that division. The last slide is just a high level of our funding outcomes, and so in 2024 the session yielded up $555 million, and so just to kind of go back to our initial kind of hope, which was for maintenance and construction, was a $450 million target. We ended up with $555 million, and it shakes out in a few ways. We received 320 of that in severance tax bonds. It mentions in that legislation to fund 9 projects. The sum of those projects as they're being proposed is $547 million. And so we've been working since the day after the session to kind of close that gap, identifying opportunities to fund some of those projects from other funding sources. And then part of what we also have to do with those projects is time them with the sale of bonds at the Board of Finance. And so we're working on identifying when we want those bonds to be sold relative to when we can get those projects let. And then we have some timelines in which we got to have them under contract and fully encumbered. And so part of the struggle with severance tax bonds, and again, we're appreciative of the funding, is we're going to have to make sure that we tee these projects up in a specific order. There's $5 million for wildlife corridors, $10 million for litter pickup and beautification, $120 million for roadway maintenance, $15 million that will go into the Rural Air Service Enhancement Fund, and then an additional $70 million for roadway projects that were identified by legislators. And in the list of eligible projects, there are 40 identified with a focus on all state roads. That seemed to be the condition for legislators putting projects on this list, is they must be state assets. And so if you kind of do the math there, right, we're working on a way to try and touch all of these projects, at an average cost of about $1.5 million, give or take. And so although we know what we likely want to do with these roadways on a construction side, we're working on some maintenance solutions for all of these projects, because of course we want to be sure that we do as much as possible. And then there's an additional $15 million for electric vehicle charging infrastructure statewide, both for agencies and for public-facing charge infrastructure. So, kind of wrap up this discussion, we're working on a public-facing dashboard. We want to be very clear because we have funding that's tied to specific projects and projects that are tied to specific legislators. We want to be very transparent about 2 things: how we're going to close the gap in funding on those 9 projects. 2 is how we're going to allocate our maintenance resources, because there are no projects attached to them. But 3 is just to essentially show how DOT can, do a whole lot, right, with not as much resources as we'd like to see. And I think that's important. And again, that's really just, I think, a recurring theme, like the commissioner said about, even moving the needle with compensation, is we always want to do more, and we could if we just had more resources. The last thing that I want to point out from the session came a 3% pay increase for all classified employees who have completed their probationary period in FY25, and that'll be effective the second full pay period of July 2024. And so we're pleased that I think for 4 years in a row, I want to say, that those pay increases are coming to employees. And I think that kind of wraps up the legislative update. Mr. Chairman, I can answer any questions you all have.
I just, on behalf of the commission, would like to thank you and your staff. It wasn't an easy session, let me tell you, by far. And it's not where you start, but where you finish, and it ended up with a good finish, but it went all the way almost to the last day, you know? And so it was up and down, but secretary and his staff got it done, and again, I'm happy that there's a 3%. I know 3% isn't a whole lot, but it's a little bit, and in the past, for the people that have been here, Lisa, you know that there was times that we didn't get anything, and insurances and everything kept going up, and at the end, you'd end up with $30 less a paycheck than when you started. So it wasn't I thought it was a good one, and as the secretary said, we've been getting consistently. So hopefully, you know, in the next year, we continue to fight for even more. I guess let me ask a quick question. Is there any thing in the works or anything, and I know you don't like to discuss stuff like that, but as far as, remember we did the MP bands, and we did stuff of that nature, and you don't have to say what they are, but is there some compensation that could be coming from employees?
That's putting me on the spot like that. So
that's what they pay me for.
Yeah. Well, there's no pay bands for commissioners. So I'm sorry to say the commissioners won't be receiving. So Mr. It's a good. If I can just use that as a segue, because I want to talk about, and I'm not skirting around the question, and I'll get there. Is our vacancy rate. And this is really important because we've been doing a whole lot of work. I want to really thank Deputy Secretary Cooper, the HR shop, and the district engineers, and I'll tell you why. And so, when I first came to the agency, we started seeing this vacancy rate like creeping up, right? To a place that was really alarming, especially in some districts and in some divisions. And so we tried to do a number of things to just bring it down. In some instances, I'm not going to say it's all just been hiring. It's been transitioning temp staff into permanent positions. It's been hiring, and it's been compensation. And the compensation measures that we've been working on, and this is where I thank the district engineers, is we've been putting together salary matrices that better help us compensate employees in some classifications based on their years of experience. And this is something that I've talked about a while back, is using appropriate placement to really make sure that everyone's getting paid adequately based on their years of service or years of experience altogether. And so we've moved the needle, and to be quite honest, we're at that point now that as we approve these salary matrices, we really have to keep a pulse on what we're doing with compensation at the agency. Because I'm doing the research on a regular basis, and I want to make the claim that DOT on average is one of the highest paying agencies in state government. And as it is right now, I don't believe we compensate anybody less than $20 an hour at the agency when we bring them in. And so we know that paying people well is going to be part of the equation, and so we're continuing to move the needle. So, but I am pleased to share right now that the statewide vacancy is 22.5%. and DOT's vacancy rate is down to 15.5%. And because we're here, I want to call out District 6 in particular, because I think it's sitting at the lowest of all districts at 6.4%, right? And so there are some districts that are doing things on their own, on a recruitment front, on a retention front, but to see that our vacancy rate is getting that far below the statewide average means that one is we're being aggressive with recruitment. Two is we're trying to be equally as aggressive with retaining people. But we can't stop there, because we do have some areas that we have to worry about. Like in that area is going to be in our infrastructure division with our engineers. There's no question about that. That's where we struggle. And so we're trying to do a number of things there. But then there are also specialized positions, engineer techs, PMs, material lab techs, bridge inspectors, and other areas like that, where we have to grow our own into those roles. And so we're soon going to be issuing a call for proposals for post-secondary institutions to develop training programs for all of those hard-to-fill critical positions so that we can train them directly into those roles. And that's going to create a pipeline. It's one thing when it's one thing when you have a good training program for new hires because you have to get the hires first. But for us, what we want to do is we want to create a possibility to say these individuals just aren't qualified to be hired. Let's train them to be qualified and get them in. So at our next commission meeting, I'll share that plan with you, and hopefully we'll have issued that call. So.
And the question wasn't so much to put you on the spot as much as it was to let everybody know that we haven't forgotten you, and we're consistently looking at ways to compensate you, and we always talk about this, is that recruitment and retention. What is it going to take to get you here? Then secondly, what is it going to take to keep you here? And so we're always looking at that, and now the vacancy rate sort of shows that people are staying. And people don't leave because they don't like it here, they leave because of the money, and sometimes you gotta do what's in the best interest of your family. But I remember, going back where now everybody that starts comes in at mid-range, correct, just about, no? And back then you'd start at the bottom and then you'd work your way up, and it was a long, long climb. So, we know that we can get better, and we're gonna try to get better. So just bear with us, and hopefully somewhere down the line it gets better. And then the only other thing I wanted to hit on, how much money is there gonna be, because I keep getting asked this a lot, for local government road fund, how much is in there? Not that what each district's gonna get, but just the total.
Mr. Chairman, I think you're referring to Transportation Project Fund that gets kind of split up over the district, and right now it's hovering between 51 and 53 million total is what we're looking at. And so again, there we'd like to grow that fund with more distributions, and so that's, the applications are due in May, and we'll start that vetting process. The districts again have been asked to make sure they're inclusive of your commissioners.
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up is because entities and villages and everything are always wanting to know, because this is where they get a little bit of money to do some work in their area. So, yeah, thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple more things very quickly. I want to put this on.
I was going to bring that up. I just saw service awards.
I thought you were going to put me on the spot for it.
Yeah, are you going to get better? No, I told you to go away with a letter opener.
I know. So we want to put this date on your calendars. It's March 28th. It's a week from today. On the note of retention, on the note of commitment to the agency, we're going to be recognizing the individual that we identified to be not just the longest continuous serving employee at NMDOT, but the longest serving continuous employee for the state of New Mexico. And he did all of that time with the Department of Transportation in District 1. And so on March 28th in Deming, we're going to be honoring Richard Baca, who holds that title of longest serving continuous employee in the state of New Mexico. And so we invite you commissioners to join us. We're working on getting the governor, getting this on the governor's schedule. She'll also be preparing a proclamation for Mr. Baca. And we'll be there to recognize him during the District 1 Service Awards. And I want to thank Aaron. I know we've been fiddling with the date back and forth to make sure that we can get as much staff in Deming as possible. So thank you, Aaron, for being flexible with us.
Can you mention how many years?
It's 50 plus years with the Department of Transportation. Yeah, and he's only 45, so we don't know why.
Well, I was kind of disappointed because he broke my record. I had 42 when I left, and he says he's got 50, and I don't know if I'll be going.
Yeah.
No, that's a great accomplishment, and that's why I'm saying it is a family, and for him to be here that long, it wasn't anything. It wasn't because he didn't love working here and he didn't love the people he worked with. He made it's our life.
Yeah.
When you start here, it's our life. So that's kudos out to him on behalf of the commission.
Yeah, and I think if you're able to attend, when you kind of hear a little bit about his story, I mean, suffice it to say, we find Deputy Secretary Cooper crying in her office as she was helping write up the proclamation, because he's got a good story, including, earning his GED while he was working full-time with us, and a bunch of other things, the legacy between him and his family and the department. So I think that it just kind of brings up another point, because we know compensation is big, there's no question about that, but we also know that good leadership is more important than even that, right? I think that, people like Richard and those in the room here, they definitely need to take care and support their families, but they also need to go somewhere every day that they feel respected and liked, and that's a big priority for us too. So it'll be interesting to hear from Richard about, the 50 years of change and how, he managed, staying happy with the agency over that time. So.
There was a gentleman by the name of Gregorio. Any of you guys know Gregorio? He used to do he was in the striping crew, where we were still doing our own striping before it went out to private sector. And as far as I know, he had 52 years when he left, and he was the one that I knew had the most. So and he's still working, right?
Yep. So a couple other last items, just give you an update on the District 3 search. We reposted or reopened that search, and it should close in the next week or so. And what we've committed to doing is an inclusive interview process with the district. And so not only will they go through the typical interview process, but we'll be asking each of those applicants to be prepared to do a presentation on their work experience and why they're interested in being the District 3 district engineer, and allow for those staff to kind of ask some questions and get a feel and provide us feedback on the applicants and the candidates. And so we'll keep you updated on that search, of course. I want to thank Paul for wearing 2 hats between District 5 and 3, and for taking it, of course, seriously. I know he's done a lot to already meet and reach out to a lot of D3 employees, and so I appreciate it. And then lastly, just another thing that we're working on that we hope to provide you updates on at the next commission meeting, hearing about really talented people like Lisa leaving the organization, is we're working on bringing a contractor on board that essentially is going to help us with succession planning between now and December. We anticipate some critical retirements, and sometimes people say, well, there's no manual to being a this, or there's no manual to being a that, and we kind of ask the question, why can't there be a manual, to being a chief engineer, to being a secretary, a deputy secretary, etc., general counsel, all these other positions that we know are really fluid in 10 years. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring a contractor on board that's going to really whiteboard out what those positions entail, they're responsible for. But then we're also going to try and draw from them institutional memory from those individuals, so that we can also, document, the lessons learned, the things that you learn the hard way sometimes. So we'll be bringing someone on board to get that done between now and December, and that will help us, we believe, to plan for, critical departures at various levels, and lay the framework for doing this on an ongoing basis, because it isn't just retirements. There are members of this organization that, quite frankly, could argue, are irreplaceable because they're just so good at what they do. And so we recognize that and don't want to hold anyone back, but also want to be sure that when those individuals move on, that we're prepared and ready to replace them, and to really kind of level out the learning curve for those that come in their place. So that's a measure that we're working on too. And so that, Mr. Chairman, that's all.
Is there any other questions, comments? And again, I just want to reiterate on behalf of the commission, thank you, Secretary, for a job well done, and your staff also. I know it was a long session, more than 30 days for you guys, but we thank you. And is there any other questions or comments?
No, just good job.
And with that, I'm going to move on to FHWA. And while Cindy's coming up, I just want to give a shout out to our IT staff, all the people and the staff that come and set up these meetings. I think they do a great job, and they come a day ahead to get all the stuff up. So if we can give them a round of applause over here. Welcome. It's good to see you again.
It's always good to see you. Hi, good morning. Thank you, Chairman Adams, Commissioners, Secretary Cerna, and the Pueblo Jemez. Thank you for your hospitality and the treats. The cookies are fantastic. If those were bizcochitos, those are probably one of the best I've ever had. So thank you for that. I bring two topic issues for today, and the first one is on Buy America. So Buy America is a requirement on the construction materials we use on our projects. And I see Jerry here, so that's a good thing, Jerry. I'm glad you're here. I don't see Tisha Clark here. Tisha's our head of construction, but so right now Federal Highways is requesting information from the public and especially the contracting industry on two issues. And I'm looking at Jerry in particular. The first one is Federal Highways is proposing to discontinue the general waiver on manufactured products. So while we were implementing bill bill required more Buy America restrictions, and I know that affects the construction industry. So Federal Highways is looking to do away with the waiver now that we've been in the process for a while. So you can spread the word and looking for comments by May 13th. Okay. So I know we shared that with Tisha.
Yesterday about that.
Wonderful. Good. So we want to hear from you guys in particular. The other is knowing that in getting away with the general waiver, they want to know of any issues with any the domestic availability on any of the products that you use. So looking for that as well by May 13th, if you can offer that. Great, thank you. I know, Chairman, when we come up, we like to talk about the money quite a bit. So we love to show you the money. We love to bring the money. So I wanted to kind of highlight a couple of funding opportunities that are coming up. Federal Highways has quite a bit of discretionary grant opportunities that are available for not only for the state, but for the local, the counties, and the tribes as well. One that's available right now that closes on May 1st, and although it's not from Federal Highways, it's from NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, is they're offering a grant for crash data collection. So that opened in January, and the application process will close on May 1st. An area of interest for a lot of the local agencies is the Safe Streets and Roads for All, our SS4A program. That is open, and planning and demonstration grants applications are available until April 4th. And the implementation grants are open until May 16th. And some of our larger grants are going to be opening up in the summertime. This spring. So March, April time, of course, March, we're wrapping up, but our larger funding opportunities are going to open soon. And I know Denise is here. So mega, infra, and rural, Denise, are going to open up pretty soon. So just give a heads up for that. So that's what's coming up available, and wanted to make sure we get the word out on those.
Thank you.
So, good. Any questions for me?
Well, we just want to say that we value our relationship with you guys, and we appreciate all the support you give us. And just so everybody knows, if it wasn't for the federal funding, we wouldn't be doing a whole lot of business. So we thank you. Any other comments from commissioners?
Yes, thank you.
If not, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor.
One question. FHW has gotten involved somehow in the Aztec bypass with an audit. Are you aware of
The Aztec bypass?
Yeah.
No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, I'll talk to you.
Yeah. Let's just be. If it's through the Office of Inspector General, do you know who?
No, I'm not sure.
Okay.
The bypass has been in a 15-year project at this point for 2
Okay.
miles.
Yeah, no, I'm not aware. But
And evidently, there was an FHW flow of money into that thing for some period of time. I was just wondering, obviously you're
Yeah.
not aware of
No,
that.
I'm not aware of that, but we're happy to look into it.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
We thank you again, thank you for being here. And with that, we'll go ahead and take a break and take pictures, so if you need a chance to comb your hair and all, there's, like me, I'm a sad case and ain't nothing gonna help me, so. Mark Lovato. Welcome, Mark.
Mr. Chairman.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. If we can start on page 27, I'm going to quickly go through where. Can you hear me better?
Is it on?
It's green.
Green, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe just put it up closer.
I'm like, is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to quickly go through where you stand on your debt service, which is the typical report. And then I'll go through where your current bond portfolio stands. And then finally, a refunding opportunity that you have on some callable bonds. So starting on page 27, the Finance Authority is actually currently holding about $125 million towards your next semi-annual debt service payment, which is on June 15th. It'll total of almost $175.5 million. You also have a couple of project funds. Those total $211.6 million. And finally, at the bottom of the page, you do have a line of credit of $50 million. It's towards your BNSF escrow, but there was no commitment fee paid during the previous quarter. Going on to the next page. I mentioned that your next semi-annual debt service payment is $175.4 million. This will show you that breakdown of what principal will be paid and what interest will be paid. Principal will be $156.8 million. Your interest payment will be $18.6 million. Going on to the next page. This chart will show you what your current bond outstanding portfolio looks like. As I've always mentioned, that your bond portfolio is a really, really short portfolio. You have 8 years to final maturity. You have approximately 70% that will mature within the next 5 years. So it's a really rapidly decreasing portfolio. The bars represent what your annual debt service payments are from this current fiscal year out to 2032. The red line will show what the outstanding par value of your bonds are. Finally, on the next page, at the top of that page is your current outstanding portfolio, but you do have some callable bonds that are now callable on June 15th. That's that blue section. It's the 2014 A, B1, and B2. The chart and the second chart will show what that refunding would potentially have as far as savings if we were to do this refunding on the call day. On the very right-hand side under savings, you'll see by doing the refunding, you will save approximately $10.4 million. And that's over the life of those bonds, which goes out to 2032. The chart at the bottom of the page, this will show your portfolio after doing that refunding. So again, at the top, you'll see you have total debt service, if we were to leave those bonds outstanding, of $889.4 million. With that refunding, your debt service over the life of the portfolio will go to $879 million. So how do we know it's a good refunding? Going on to the next page. The standard is to have at least a net present value savings of 3%. Your net present value savings on this refunding is 7.65%, more than double. So it is a good opportunity for refunding. So next steps to actually get the refunding done. Typically it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months to actually get all of the paperwork done, POS done, and all that. We cannot actually start that process until we get an authorizing resolution at the direction of the commission. Commission gives us direction with that resolution to start the process. So we would need that resolution.
Okay, so this was for information only, right?
This is for information only. Your general counsel would have to put together that resolution authorizing us to go forward. The quicker you get that, this process can start.
present us.
yeah, I'm comfortable with what Mr. Lovato presented and whatever our general counsel can draw together to get the process going faster so that we can start accruing those savings.
Yeah, every day after that June 15th, you'll be paying interest on that, on the higher rate of those bonds. So typically you want to pay it on callable date, which is June 15th.
Any other questions, comments from fellow commissioners? Mr. Taylor?
Hey, Mark, thanks for this, and just for your all information, we met with Mark and others about a week and a half ago to go over this scenario, and I appreciate the simplicity of the tables. Mark, can you just explain why there's variance in the savings from year to year, and particularly the $4 million in '27?
Yes, sir. You'll notice your 2014 B1 bonds, you have a really large principal payment, well, debt service payment, which is mostly principal, on 2027.
Okay.
So those are proportional savings. So since there's a large sum on that one fiscal year, that's why you have that large savings there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments? Then the secretary will be speaking with the council and we'll go from there.
Perfect.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Uh-huh.
And with that, we'll go ahead and move on to request by Bernalillo County for use of automated speed cameras. Yes. And Elias is another DOT employee.
Well, Elias isn't here.
Oh, no.
My name is, good morning, Commissioner. My name is Antonio Jaramillo.
No, I mean, Antonio,
Yeah.
I just read it off the thing. So.
No, it's okay.
But Antonio is an ex
I am.
NMD employee, and
I
you
am.
never know if he's coming back.
See how he does here.
My general counsel's right here, so. Good morning, Chairman and Vice Chairman, members of the Chair Commission, and Secretary Serna. And again, thank you for the hospitality here for Jemez Pueblo. Appreciate it. I haven't been down here in a while, so thank you. So this item here is being presented as information only. It mainly affects District 3. We are in District 6. And so what we're requesting is the implementation of speed enforcement cameras on specific corridors that we've identified based off of data-driven information. We have looked at information from Mr. COG, which is the Mid-Region Council of Governments information, and it's based off of information that we received from based off congestion, speed. We also looked at other factors that were given to us by the sheriff's office, based off of speed and congestion and crashes. And so the locations you can see there that we're proposing is New Mexico 45 and which is Coors Boulevard, in specific areas that we've identified that are within the unincorporated Bernalillo County. In addition to New Mexico 528, which is one of the highest congested areas, and again, a river crossing between 2nd Street and Loretta. New Mexico 500, which is Rio Bravo, again, in those locations listed there. Tramway Boulevard between San Rafael and Paseo del Norte. New Mexico 14, which is in the East Mountains, between Frost and I-25, and then New Mexico 333 near the intersection of New Mexico 217. There will be other locations within Bernalillo County that we are considering. These are just the ones that are affected by NMDOT. We have reached out to the DOT, the District 3. They did give us some feedback, and we did take that into consideration. It was mainly towards making it a data-driven decision versus just a political decision. And our ordinance is set up that way, so it is data-driven. So we cannot put anything unless there's some justification to it. So we did hear that, and then the other concern there was making sure that it is on an independent pole. The camera itself is on an independent pole, and it is crash worthy. And so we have worked with our vendor, to make sure that, you know, that criteria is there. They do have different options for the cameras. It's placed on either an independent pole. We do have a mobile device. The mobile device, we're intending on utilizing that in areas where we've identified a speeding issue, but it doesn't meet our criteria for speed humps, essentially. Again, it's data-driven, but we know that there is a speeding problem, but that it doesn't meet the criteria. So we will be placing it there. We also have the opportunity of, and again, discussions with the district potentially utilizing this in work zones, and they do have that ability. So we will be able to utilize that if the DOT would like to move forward with that. And we're more than happy to work with them on that issue. That basically is a summary of what we're proposing. If the commission has any questions, I stand for questions.
I'll let each of the commissioners, if they have comments, but I would just say that before that, we would consider it for an action item at our next meeting. As we always do, I would like for our people that are involved, our attorneys, people from traffic safety, our people that, just everybody that needs to be involved in it. And, you know, like you said, the placement of the cameras, the device that'll be sitting on it. So and then we want to make sure that it's all right with FWHA if it falls on any of their roads, as we did the last time. We got to make sure that they're okay with it. This same thing process went when we did the ones in the city of Albuquerque, because since a lot of those roads were funded by HWA, we got to make sure that we're not violating or doing anything that would impact the funding that we receive. So once it goes through all the channels and we can get it all together, then the secretary will say, well, I think we're at that point, but we just got to get a sign off on everybody, and then at that point we will consider it as an action item.
Appreciate it.
Any other comments from fellow commissioners?
I'd like
Commissioner Chenoweth, and then I'll go to you.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Adams. Thank you for your presentation today. Similarly to what the city of Albuquerque did when they presented to us, I have a question about the fines and the ability of folks to pay them off in different ways.
Sure.
And to not negatively impact people that aren't able to, you know, meet the payment option in cash. Can they work it off through community service or anything else?
I failed to mention that, and thank you for bringing that up. Yes, there are ways of working off that fine, I guess, essentially, for lack of a better term. The fine will be set for, right now, as we're anticipating it to be $100, similar to what the city fine is. That any individual that receives a citation has the ability to either pay that fine through the system that we're going to be setting up, or working it off essentially with community service. There's certain sections of the county that we would like, we have a clean team that they can do, cleaning up on the side of the road type thing. Also working for our animal services, volunteering at that, voluntold, I guess, at that location, or however we decide to do that. But yes, we are looking at that, and that is a possibility, and it is worked into our ordinance.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lundstrom.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't live in Albuquerque, but I drive to Albuquerque through the city and a lot of these roads.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always getting caught on the green light to the red light situation, right through the stale green. Is there going to be any kind of leeway for people that aren't in the metropolitan or don't live in that area? Number one. And again, as a highway commissioner, if I get in trouble, am I going to be painting the signs or walking dogs or what? I mean, is that, you know what I'm saying? There's lots of people that drive through there that, not that they can't follow the rules, but again, it's there's some, I guess, wherewithal that you need to know when you're driving through there. And that's legal, right? I remember we went through this before where people were suing or getting back at the agency that put these in about, hey, is this constitutionally right? Could you guys do this? That's kind of what I was looking at.
So, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Lindstrom, the intent of this is not to be punitive, is more just to make sure that people comply with the speed limit. As such, we will be implementing signs that before the actual device to warn drivers that there is a device on the roadway. So, again, our intention is to, make people aware of it. If we don't collect money on it, great. It's not off our back. Because, the reason why I say that is because the way it's set up, all of the financial responsibilities is on the vendor. So if they don't get any citations, they don't make any money, right? But we are going to be setting it up to where we are we're going to put any type of warnings as much as we can to warn drivers that there is something up ahead for that. So to answer your question, if you decide to pay the fine, you can pay the fine, or you have the opportunity to do whatever it feels right, in your case. Now, the way it's going to be set up is you will have the ability to, what's the word? Dispute, exactly. Dispute your citation. There is an opportunity for that. There's also, it has to be vetted through a law enforcement officer, so they have to review every single one of those citations. So we're not arbitrarily just saying that. So, we are going to be employing a sheriff's officer, and they just go through all the citations, and if they don't see an issue with that, they will not issue the citation. So there is that process.
Okay, because it's kind of analogous to when I drive through on Highway 6, the Pueblo Laguna there. I've gotten a ticket there on whatever it was, and I just paid my fine, and it didn't go on my insurance for those purposes, which was kind of good. I didn't want to get those points. But
Well, those tickets don't go on your record.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one.
And just so that you know, right now too, we're exploring the possibilities. And I know, just so that the employees are aware of this, especially the ones that are working out on the roadway, that we're exploring the possibility right now of placing speed cams that'll ticket in work zones. So we're working on that right now and looking into a possibility of whether we can or can't. So we're on that too. That La Bajada project has been rough, and all the. If we lost, how many, Lester Secretary, 2 employees?
For sure, one on District 2.
Yeah, and if we lose one, that's one too many, so we want to make sure that we're ensuring that people are slowing down. I just came through there this morning, and that project, Secretary told me he's getting ready to wrap up like in May, and there's no things, and people were, I was going at 55, the speed limit, and they were on my tail because they couldn't pass, and then they're going 80, 90 miles an hour. So we need to do something to protect our employees and to protect the traveling public. So, any other questions or comments?
Yeah.
Commissioner Taylor.
So, the fines are actually paid to the vendor?
Chairman Adams and Commissioner Taylor. Yes, so the way it is, the way it's set up is that the fine goes to the vendor, but then the vendor will pay us. They get a fee associated with it, so it's a percentage. It's actually a fixed fee. And after that fixed fee is given to the vendor, then we receive the remainder of the fee of the $100. So if the total fee is $100 and their fee is, say, $15, we receive the remainder of that to us.
Why don't you just buy the thing and
Manage it.
keep it government?
It would be great, and that is a possibility. However, it would take a lot of employees to do the processing and keeping up with that. So that is something we can definitely explore. But for right now, for implementation purposes, this is the way we're going. And it's I don't remember the year. I think it's a 5-year contract, or if I don't remember correctly how long it is. But we definitely can explore that if we need to.
Any other questions?
I just-
Commissioner Chenoweth?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Adams. One last thing, can you explain just a little bit where those revenues will go to? Whatever you receive from the vendor, will that be, where will that end up? I just want to, I think there's some concern that it's a money-making opportunity for the county or for, you know, and I know that the city had addressed that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I can bring up my general counsel, Mara DeMille. She can answer that. I could answer that, but I don't want to get in trouble.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. The fees are covered by state law, actually, and there's not much wiggle room. The processing entity will collect the money, and then it comes to the county. What the county retains will be the sum to cover administrative cost. But then the net proceeds, 1/2 goes to the state treasurer, who disperses it for state programs. Pardon me. And then 1/2 will be held by the county for traffic safety programs. And that is ironclad.
Thank you.
Anything else? Oh, and I also want to thank General Counsel. We have met with him to get discussions underway.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was my answer, so
Secretary.
I'm good.
Thanks, Chairman and Commissioners. Just to kind of talk a little bit more about what Chairman Adams was discussing earlier about cameras in work zones. You know, you may have seen an article about 4 weeks ago. It was an update to our, our project to put cameras in work zones. And at that time, we felt like we had kind of run into a hurdle, and that hurdle was some state statute limiting the ability to put speed enforcement cameras on state highways to municipalities. And so when we received, the proposal from Bernalillo County, the question to Steve Hamilton was, well, can they do it? Because they're not a municipality, right? And so I think those are the discussions you're talking about, is the back and forth began with regard to statutory authority for counties to do this like municipalities. And together they've determined that counties and municipalities can put speed cameras on state roadways. And that was a little frustrating to us at first, because it's this notion that, municipalities can put cameras on state roads if we give them permission. But we can't put cameras on state roads if we give ourselves permission, right? And so the example I said is it's like giving the school permission to spank your kids, you just can't spank them at home. And so, which is a good rule, you just have someone else do it, right? And so but carrying that thinking forward, have someone else do it, is now that we have determined that counties have statutory authority to put speed cams, what we'll be trying to do is identifying the projects that we would like speed enforcement cameras on, the construction zones, and then working with the counties to allow for us to place speed cameras there. And so, for example, when we go to the city of Albuquerque for Montgomery Comanche, the city of Albuquerque already has a program. We'll broach the city of Albuquerque with the opportunity to add cameras on that work zone. If we have a project out in Bernalillo County, we'll do likewise. If we get to a county like Santa Fe County that hasn't received permission, we'll ask them, well, would you do this for La Bajada, for example, right? And so we'll be working through counties to get the work zone cameras put in place, which is not as simple as us being able to just do it on our own, but that's a measure we hope to get addressed during next year's legislative session, so that, we can, quote unquote, spank our kids at home and make decisions through commission to put cameras on state infrastructure based on a project selection process.
Great.
Okay. So the process has begun, and we're a part of the process now, and we'll let our people that are versed in doing what they need to do to get it moving, and we'll rely on their information and their input. So we appreciate you coming here today, and I'm sure they're keeping you in the loop as far as everything goes.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
No, and thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Give a shout out to Elias when you see him. Thank you. And on that, let's go on to action item 10A, action item bar 18 in Federal Emergency Management Agency. John.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Chair, fellow commissioner or other commissioners.
So what you have before you here is a request to borrow $45 million into the Highway Operation Program. These funds are going to be utilized to support our Hermit's Peak Calf Canyon fire and flood recovery. The history of this project is, of course, after that fire, we received funding, executive order money from the governor's office to start off cleaning of both fire and flood damage to the area of San Miguel and Mora County. Now what we're doing is we have been submitting reimbursement requests through Homeland Security to FEMA to get money back, and the intent is to use this money to invest it back into the continued operations. We're about halfway done, I would say. These, when this is all said and done, our intent is to have everything fully reimbursed, have the governor's fund fully reimbursed back to her office. But for now, we want to use this as a revolving fund. So this $45 million will help us to continue those operations, especially now that we're getting ready to begin this year's recovery season, now that when the snow melts.
Thank you.
It's time for any questions if you have any.
Any questions from fellow commissioners? Mr. Secretary, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank John for leading this effort, from the accounting to the management of our prime contractor and everything in between. So recommend approval so we can keep that work moving.
I have a motion for approval of action item bar number 18, Federal Emergency Management Agency. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Lundstrom,
I'll second the motion.
a second by Commissioner Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimously, and as the secretary said, John, thank you for all the work you're putting down there. It's been a rough one down there, and we're just trying to get everything as back, or we want to support everything we can to get normalcy back. As it's never going to be normal again, but as much as we can. So thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we're going to go on to action item bar 19, Motorcycle Fund. Cora.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Good morning, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Alicia Ortiz. I'm the acting modal division director. Cora did a great job of putting information together and making sure that I knew what I'm talking about when I'm up here, but she wasn't able to join us this morning. So what you have before you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, is a request for a bar for $103,680 to increase the budget authority for contractual services in Category 300 and other costs in Category 400 for the modal program to support activities associated with our motorcycle safety training program. This is a use of fund balance, and we respectfully request your consideration and approval.
Any questions, comments from commissioners? With that, what is your recommendation, Mr. Secretary?
Mr. Chairman, recommend approval of bar 19.
So do I have a motion for approval of bar 19 Motorcycle Fund?
I motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Cisneros.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission.
Now we'll move on to bar 20. Mallory, how are you this fine day?
Good morning, Chairman
I
and
was-
Commissioners.
I was trying to follow you this morning, but then you ended up following me.
Oh, I know, you were leading the way for us.
I know what was happening.
All right, I'm here to present bar number 20.
What happened to
What's the
the?
joke?
Joke.
Yeah, what happened to the joke? Hey, you started it, we ain't letting you off the hook.
Shoot, I didn't even think of a joke because I wasn't
Hey,
presenting
you and
financials.
you and your partner over
I
there.
know. Okay, why were the elephants kicked out of the swimming pool? Because they were trying to take the trunks off. All right.
Thank you.
Bar number 20, it will be covering programs P563, which is highway operations, and P565, specifically the aviation division. This bar is required to increase our budget authority in the personnel, service, and employee benefits, which is category 200, by $3,010,000. These funds are needed to cover payroll-related shortfalls. This is due to ongoing recruitment efforts and overtime. that we're experiencing high overtime due to the winter season, and now we're looking forward to the spring activities. The $3 million will be supported by the state road fund balance, and then the $10,000 will be supported by the aviation fund balance. And that, Chairman and Commissioners, I stand for questions and I ask for approval.
Any questions or comments from fellow commissioners? If not, what is your recommendation, Mr. Secretary?
Recommend approval of bar 20, Mr. Chair.
I have a recommendation. Do I have a motion for approval of bar 20?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Chenoweth. Second from Commissioner Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners.
Let me ask a question before I go to the last one. How many Aggies do we have in here? Well, go home and watch the Lobos play tomorrow. Because it's always the other way around. I gotta balance it here.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, let's go on to action item. Initiate rulemaking actions required by the transfer of rail safety functions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, and Mr. Secretary. My name is John Newell. I'm an Assistant General Counsel with the NMDOT. And this is, we hope, the last step of our, for initiating rulemaking for the transfer of certain PRC duties from, to the NMDOT. As you remember, in the 2023 legislative session, there was a bill that transferred all the transportation-related functions of the PRC to the NMDOT, and one of those is railway safety. And so what we're asking today is permission to open a rulemaking to repeal and replace Rule 18.14.2 NMAC, which is a railroad safety rule.
You heard the action item. Is there any questions? Is there any comments? If not, Mr. Secretary, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chair, I want to thank John, I want to thank Steve, and even Elizabeth Travis from PRC. That this has been the heaviest of lifts, I think, for the transition of this division for DOT is the rulemaking process. So thank you, John and Steve, for doing that. So recommend that you approve and support the initiation of the rulemaking.
You heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion from Commissioner Lundstrom for initiate rulemaking sections required by the transfer of rail safety functions from the Public Regulation Commission, PRC, to the NMDOT. Do I have a second? Second from Commissioner Taylor. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for being here
Commission.
today. With that, I know everybody's not looking forward to this. I know you guys wanted to stay with us all day, but we need to go home and get ready for Easter. So, no, on behalf of the commission, we want to thank everybody for being here today. We want to thank you for the work you do. We want to wish all of you a very, very happy Easter, a safe Easter, and we just want to tell you how blessed we are to be associated with you, and that goes to all our partners. And it's just great to be up here. So with that, I want to wish everybody again a happy Easter and a safe holiday. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I will make that motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Chenoweth and Taylor. See, I'm going to give you both. So we'll use one as the motion, the other as a second, to adjourn this meeting at approximately 10:41. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.